listening to The Goods on the Chronicles, Fables, and Yarns Network. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Tracy.
Today we're continuing our favorite holiday movies just in time for Christmas. If you're watching this, I believe it's coming out on December 23rd. And today we have National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And I believe I picked this one, if I'm not mistaken. So this one's my fault. It's a National Lampoon movie, written by John Hughes, directed by Jeremiah Chichik. It's, classic kind of Griswold family vacation kind of movie, except this one occurs on the holidays. And I believe it is a Christmas movie because Christmas is the core motivating factor behind everything that happens in the movie. Like, everybody arrives at their house because, Clark Griswold wants to have a fun, good old-fashioned family Christmas and have everybody over. And that's like the line from the beginning, right? Yep. Where we find him at first. They're driving down a road, to get the Griswold family Christmas tree. They trek all the way out into the middle of a frozen field. Audrey's eyes, Audrey's the daughter, Audrey's eyes freeze open, and the
they
sun.
Don't have any to put the tree down with.
Yeah. What's his name? John Galecki, the guy from Big Bang Theory. Mm-hmm. Definitely plays the kid. Plays the kid in that, and he goes, "You bring a saw, Dad?" And later on in the movie, they run back to it in a bit. There's this tree real, Clark? Pulled it out of the ground myself, Eddie. So. I think it's pretty great. So I
think it is too.
This movie has, obviously, it's Chevy Chase, has Randy Quaid in it, Doris Roberts, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in it. Great overall movie, and it kind of shows what kind of mess holidays can be for a family, and the challenges, while exaggerated, the challenges that families deal with during the holiday season, like specifically that argument they get into where it's like, my mom is gonna accuse your mom of waxing her upper lip, and your mother's gonna accuse my mother of using bad hot dogs. It's very relatable as somebody who's I don't think it's possible for families to get along perfectly. I think there's always going to be some sort of friction when you stick enough people in an enclosed area during a stressful time of year, which, as much as I love the holidays, they're very stressful. Mm-hmm. It's going to cause something to kind of go a little awry. This one just takes it to the nth degree. It has some great bits in it, honestly. It's I think it has some of my favorite comedy bits in any movie I think I've seen. Specifically, probably the one where Clark puts the grease or lube or whatever it is on the front of the steel sled, and he goes,
sled.
Yeah, and launches himself down the hill. Goes so fast, leaves a trail of fire behind him through the snow, mind you. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was one of the first times I think I've laughed so hard I've cried during an actual comedy. So. It's that sort of humor that's very pervasive throughout, the film. And so there's a lot of slapstick, a lot of people getting, hurt. There's a scene where, a squirrel gets into the house and the dog just absolutely tears the entire house up. And then their long-suffering neighbors, who are also assholes, by the way, knocking the door. They deserve
what they get.
Oh, they absolutely deserve what they get. Opens the door and the squirrel runs into her and the dog just tackles her out of the house, and Clark closes like, gone. Has one of my favorite conversations there where it's like, and why is the carpet wet, Margot? I don't know, Todd, or however it goes. Or why is the floor wet, Todd? I don't know, Margot. Yeah. There we go. And so it's just pretty excellent in terms of comedy, but I think it also has a lot of heart to it. Where it
really does.
At the end of the day, it kind of comes back around to, Clark realizing that he he invited all of his family over for a reason, and the stress of the holidays, and then not getting a bonus from his boss that he's gotten every year. So it throws a little bit of like commentary in there as well. But overall, it's pretty solid, I have to say. How do you like it? I've kind of been talking the most. What do you think?
Honestly, you've covered most of the points that I had. I think that I agree. I think it's a nice combination of sort of elements. You've got the slapstick, the ridiculous things that are happening. You've got the cringeworthy family experience. I mean, especially with Cousin Eddie and his family.
Shitter's full.
And yeah, families are tough. But it's still got that sort of normal family element, which is Clark trying to do the best he can. He wants to have this sort of magical experience, and his father pulls him aside at one point when he starts to lose it and says, something like, I know you're trying your best, but you cocked it up. So it didn't work out the way you hoped it would. And from that point, he kind of turned it around and just made it what it was meant to be, which is a time to be together with family, whether or not you get along with them perfectly.
The reason I like the end of that speech is because it sheds a light on it. Because like a lot of times, when you're a kid, like I think it's like without question probably the reason that like I enjoy Christmas is I have fond memories. Like it's nostalgia probably, right? Where family was together, everybody got along for a period of time, sort of thing, right? And you don't realize like the stress in the elements that your parents went through to make the holidays work, right? Because he asks his dad, how'd you do it, Dad? And he goes, I had a lot of help from Jack Daniels, which is a great line.
That is a great line.
But it goes to show, like I said, I think it has a lot of heart in in that regard, right? Where it shows his dad is still his hero, right? Like his dad is the reason he wants to have a big family Christmas. He's like, I always want to do this and have my family here, and his dad's his hero in that regard. And it comes back around kind of to that point at the end where he gets himself back on track after talking to by his father, and it's just it's a great moment in the movie that kind of brings it back down to earth a little bit. After blowing up the Christmas tree, the cat, and shortly before blowing up the entire sewer system.
Yep.
So, overall, I think it has lots of great dialogue. It's very charming. Honestly, everybody's kind of an asshole in it. So you don't really feel bad. But, Clark kind of does it with good intentions, and his long-suffering wife. It's still one of my favorite bits is she figures out what's wrong with the lights before Clark does and flips the switch. Because Clark's covered his house in like however many thousand of twinkling lights, and like enough so that when the power goes on, the city has to turn on their nuclear reserve power. and you see their I don't remember what it's called. What the hell do they call the energy meter? Whatever. You see just like kick up, just it's just great. Overall, I think it's a fantastic Christmas movie. It's one of my favorites. Do you have anything else you'd like to add on to the back end of this, Tracy?
No, I definitely agree. I think it's fun to watch.
It'll make you laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cringe a little bit in places, but that's okay too, because it's a vacation, or it's a
National Lampoon movie. There's going to be cringe in a National Lampoon movie. I think you're right there. Classic. It's a classic, fun movie. I think it's probably one of my favorites. So anyway, it has a rating of watch it from me. Tracy?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Definitely. Don't miss this holiday movie coming up. Spend time with your family. Laugh a little bit. We kind of did some sadder and a little bit more crazy movies up front, like Klaus, but this one will get you through pretty lighthearted. This has been The Goods on the Chronicles, Fables, and Yarns Network. Again, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Tracy. Thanks for listening.